I'm Andrea Chilcote. Welcome to What Leaders Need Now. Thanks for tuning in. I've been coaching executives since the late 90s, when executive coaching was a fairly new concept. And during all of this time, I've also been training, encouraging, cajoling leaders to coach those people on their teams. And for quite some time after I started my business in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, I thought there was a shelf life on my work. I thought that after some time of helping executive leaders and leaders at all levels with the concepts of trust, courage, open communication, compassion and humility humility with themselves and compassion for others, instead of the command and control authoritative cultures we were experiencing, that coaching would become so commonplace that I would be out of a job. Yet here I am 3 decades later, still talking about, writing about, coaching, cajoling others with these same fundamentals. And I am busier than I've ever been, and the need is greater than it's ever been. So my guest today, Dr. Damian Goldvarg, has also been doing the same. He's been an international figure in the coaching field, lecturing, discussing, teaching, writing on this topic for over 25 years. And I'm so excited to have him. I'm going to read his bio. Dr. Damian Goldvarg has 30 years of experience providing executive coaching, leadership training, and facilitation in over 60 countries, and is the principal owner of Goldvarg Consulting Group. He is a master's certified coach and received his PhD in organizational psychology from Alliant University. He is an accredited coach supervisor and an accredited team coach, and facilitates certifications in professional coaching, team coaching, and coaching supervision in both English and Spanish. Damian was the 2013-2014 International Coach Federation Global President and has published 9 books and several chapters on coaching-related topics, including his newest book, Lead with a Coaching Mindset, How the Best Leaders Unlock Potential, which we'll talk about today. Damian was also the recipient of the 2018 ICF Circle of Distinction Award for his contribution to the coaching profession worldwide. I am honored to have you here. Welcome, Damian.
Thank you for inviting me. I was looking forward to having a conversation with you. And I want to start by thanking you because you were one of the people who reviewed my book before I was printed with various colors. So thank you for doing that.
Well, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure. And doing that, I had the privilege of previewing the book before it's released, and it's going to be released on September 2nd. Is that correct, Damian?
You're right. We're launching the book on that day.
Great. And, you cover both fundamental and transformational concepts. But before we get to talking about the book itself, I'd like to hear your reflection on what I said in the opening. Why do you think we still see command and control cultures in businesses today after all this time and all this work that's been done?
That's a great question. I have been like you working for many years and hoping, like you were saying before, that we will be out of our work. But, I think my first reaction is that based on my experience is that there is a system, a belief system in the world, in organizations, in the culture, where authority has a place. And we start with the family structure, where the father in the family have the authority. And I think that over the years it's more shared with the mothers too. But sometimes we call it like a patriarchal society. And there are some cultures that have that stronger than others. But I do believe that relationship with authority and with hierarchies, it's something that is in the background for all of the organizational work that we do. So I do believe that is the root. And I think that that's difficult to change. I think that we do our work, and I think that we in some way are catalysts for insight and learning and getting new lights on these issues and being more intentional in how we create well-being in organizations. I think that we are both committed to that, how to support organizations so leaders can be more effective, create better work environments. And at the end of the day, I think we also care about the world. We care about human beings. We care about how we can make this world a better place, one person at a time. So it's about contributing, and it's about supporting leaders so they can do the best possible job in a very challenging environment. I think that leaders are finding a lot of challenges these days, and their jobs may be pretty stressful.
So many things that you just said that I want to emphasize. One is the belief system. It is a belief system. And, whether it starts with your family and or the culture that you grew up in, and thus your family, it lingers. And I'm recalling a conversation I had with a leader that I'm working with that's truly an example of this kind of transformation. And at one point I said to him, do you see that this way works better than the way you started when you came to this new, he was promoted to a new role? And he said, yes, tentatively. He said, yes, I do. But I will tell you that I think the other way works too. And I won't say that I wouldn't use it sometimes, because sometimes you just need to get a fast result. And I wonder what you think about that, because isn't that at the heart of this, that the belief system carries into our company leadership, and we think this is how we get results?
Definitely. I think that leaders receive a lot of pressure to get results from the top and from down. So like they're in the middle, getting all of these messages about what they need to accomplish, and then getting people working for them that sometimes may or may not support that vision. And that's the reason why I called my book Leading with a Coaching Mindset, because it requires a different mindset, a different way to look at reality. I like to use the metaphor with my clients using the glasses. Like if you have sunglasses and suddenly you start looking at reality with the color of your glasses. But these glasses, how you're looking at reality, is what is going to determine what are your behaviors, what do you say, what do you do. So to the level that we can work and be more clear about our own mindset, about our own way of looking at things and understanding where they come from, what is the roots of this mindset, what are the roots of these ideas, we can be more intentional. And you're right, and sometimes I hear that from leaders that I work with too, and I say, well, that's true. Sometimes you may need to be more directive, let's say more or less directive, because I think this coaching mindset is a collaborative mindset. Mm-hmm. It's a mindset that engages people to collaborate and to work and think together, where the responsibility is shared versus what we're seeing here, where the leader feels it's only my responsibility. So because it's my responsibility, I need to tell you what to do so we can get results, versus, okay, let's work together, let's collaborate, the results are from everybody. At the end of the day, yes, the leader is accountable, so the leader is responsible. But do you share that with your team, or do you just work by yourself? And many times in coaching conversation with leaders, we discuss that, we explore that, because many times it's a blind spot. Many leaders don't see that as a possibility. They have a question, they say, what do I do? And I say, why don't you ask your team? Ask other people, let's do that together. But that is not many times in my clients. I'm sure that you also see that, Andrea, with your clients.
Yes, and I love the idea that collaboration means think together, because we need everybody's thinking, and that's the whole idea of contributing to a better result. Then there's also the issue of engagement, and I've never felt compelled. This goes way back. There was a point you said something else really important. You said one leader at a time, one person at a time. And I was working on a large project, and I was so disillusioned, thinking this culture is never going to shift. And I got it, that it's about the one person and the next person and the next person. And that's why I love coaching so much. I'd rather be coaching than training a large group of people, because you impact a person at a time. But I've never really been compelled to try to shift since then organizations that are really going the other direction. I tend to find the clients find me who want to make these changes. But I'm wondering if that's shifting, if you think that's shifting given what we're seeing with disengagement. When we talked the other day, you talked about the Gallup Global Workplace Survey. And I don't know if you want to share some numbers from that. It's always appalling when I read it.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that the level of engagement and what engagement means. When we're talking about engagement, we mean the level of commitment of people to their job, the level of energy, willingness to do their work, and that's based on how they perceive their environment. So if we look at a Gallup study, it's from 2025, from this year, and they found out that globally, the level of engagement have decreased from 23 to 21%. So 23 was not very high. It's even going lower to 21% of engagement. That means that globally, the level of people in organizations who are really committed, doing their best, putting the extra effort is only 21% from 23. So, and then they were wondering why that? And one of the key elements is the element number one is that what lower was also the level of engagement from managers. So it's not only about all employees, but in this last study, that's something new, that managers are decreasing their own level of engagement. And can you imagine working in a team when your leader is not engaged? It's very difficult for people working under them to be engaged too.
Right.
And it's interesting that from all of these leaders who are not disengaged, there were two groups in special that were more disengaged, women and younger leaders, younger than 35. So these two groups were even more disengaged compared to the rest of the other leaders worldwide. So I do believe that, and by the way, there are three levels of engagement. There are these 23% that lower to 21 that are very engaged. Then you have people who are quiet quitting, that they are not completely disengaged, but they are not doing their best. It's called quiet quitting because they are not quitting, but they are not 100% there.
Yes.
So they do their job, but there is not passion, there is not commitment, they do the minimum. And then they have the people who are actively disengaged. These are the people who are actively boycotting others, having negative energy to work. So people who are listening to us probably can identify people in these three different groups in their organizations. But I do believe that leaders, they do have a role in enhancing this level of engagement, starting by themselves. It's asking themselves, what do they need and how they can work so they can themselves be more engaged and motivated.
They do have a role, and you and I believe that it's not by telling them, get engaged. It's through coaching, and that's one lever. It's a big lever. And so let's transition to talking about your book, Lead with a Coaching Mindset. The title says it all, as we talked about. It's the mindset. What motivated you to write this book after so many years of doing this work, doing what the title says?
Well, this is my book number 11th, really, that I have author, co-author, or edited some books. And I have been thinking about this book for a long time. And this is a result of my work, training leaders. So I have been training leaders on coaching skills for many years. And I wanted to have a manual to use to give to the participant. So most of my book have been so far about coaches, for coaching skills, mental coaching, supervision, all books related to the coaching field. That is my specialty. But this book is for leaders so they can develop their own mindset. And I wrote the book first in Spanish. So the book came out in Spanish a couple of years ago and it went really well. And I was able to, and the first book was more like a manual with exercises and activities. And then when I published this book with Barrett Scholar, they rather have a book that was not with so many exercises and activities, so it has more content. But it's based on the ICF core competency model. The International Coach Federation has its own model to train coaches, and this is what I have been doing also for more than 10 years, developing and training professional coaches. So I'm using that framework to train leaders on coaching skills. So they're not going to be professional coaches, as when I train coaches professionally, but they still can develop the skills so they can be more effective in engaging, we're talking about engaging, and people so they can feel valued, respected, and that they want to keep learning and growing. So because coaching is about helping people to maximize their potential. Coaching is about helping people to be more engaged, to be clear about where they are and where they want to be, to understand what is in their way. And many times, Andrea, what is in their way is themselves. So most of the time we think that what is in our way between where we are and where we want to be, we think that all of these other people or issues. But most of the time, what is in our way is ourselves, our own beliefs, our limiting beliefs. Yes. So part of that is being aware what is that and how we can work through that and navigate this interesting space of barriers to accomplish what we want.
So you and I experience that every day as coaches, that what's in the way is what's inside. And what you're doing with this book is helping leaders be able to unlock that in others versus telling them what they should do differently, or this, again, command and control. And it's so powerful. And you know what makes this book so unique, so many things, but one is as you said, you're using the framework of the ICF competencies. So it's comprehensive in terms of coaching, and it's right in terms of coaching. And it's also very specific to coaching. It's not a general leadership development, your philosophy on leadership, and a little bit of coaching. It is a manual, like you said, to learn, and that's what excites me about this. For giving it to my clients, for example, I have an experience. I've been doing a lot of group coaching and teaching leaders or helping facilitate leaders to be able to do group coaching, and I'm always surprised by people who I know to be really good leaders and in more of the mindset of collaboration. And they will almost panic when it comes time to do that. And had a conversation with someone who she's quite accomplished and quite skilled. And it was a pretty simple facilitation that she was about to do. And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do at the time. I'm going to ask this question of everyone, and we're going to be done in 10 minutes because I don't know what else is going to happen. And then she came back and said, oh my gosh, we barely got done in our 90-minute segment to do this. It was so good just by asking these questions. These are the people that need this book because they need the skills, if you will. And sometimes it's just refreshing what they already know in that case. But with this comprehensive book, you can literally learn all of the things you need to do. So what are the key points or the key takeaways that you write about that you most want people to get?
Well, I think that because we follow the International Coach Federation framework, I hope that people will learn what they are these competencies so they can keep them present when they are leading and they can coach the people. One element is paying attention to coaching moment, paying attention to opportunities, to have conversation. Coaching is always a conversation. So the book is about how to have effective conversation to support people to grow and learn. And so this is one of the key elements is, okay, pay attention. When people come to you with a question, with a challenge, with an issue, instead of telling what to do, this can be a coaching moment. That can be an opportunity to stop and think together versus just telling people what to do. And to do that, you need to demonstrate these competencies. Like one is presence. Like if you're not paying attention, you are not going to do that. So you need to be present and connected. You need to listen. This is another so each chapter of the book is one of the competencies. And there are 8 competencies. One is ethical leadership, coaching mindset. It's about how we have that as a framework. Agreeing, contracting, clarifying expectations, trust, presence, active listening, creating awareness through powerful questioning, designing plans for action. And then the last 2 chapters one is about team coaching, as you were sharing before, and the last one is about foresight. It's about preparing for the future, because I think that when we are coaching, if we are not paying attention to the future and challenging people to what's possible we are not as effective. So I would say that if I would say three things, would be just look for attention for the present, for the coaching moment opportunities. Second is pay attention to how you, in the moment in these conversations, you ask questions to make people think and how you can collaborate and challenge people so they can come up with their own solutions. Sometimes it's easier for people to be told what to do. It takes less time, and sometimes people want that. And that sometimes there is space for that. But when we think together, we learn together and we grow together. And finally, an element in the last chapter is about foresight. It's about also paying attention to the future and how we can be ready for that.
I love that. So being present to the coaching moments, paying attention and listening in that moment. And you said sometimes it takes, it seems to take time. And that's always what we hear as pushback that, I didn't have time to do that, or I didn't have time to have a coaching session or a coaching meeting. And oftentimes those meetings are not meetings. Those are interactions that you have a choice whether to direct and tell or whether to listen and engage. And so to someone who would say, well, we don't have time, we're at a busy time, we can't do this. What would you say about the difference in results of using this kind of an approach and a mindset?
And I hear that a lot. People say, no, that sounds great, but I don't have time to that. And I ask them, what is the cost?
It's beautiful. Yeah. So anything else that you'd like to share about the book or the work that you would like our listeners to know?
Well, I think that my hope with this book is to encourage leaders to develop this coaching mindset. For some people, it's more natural. For some people, it's not in their awareness. Some people may resist the idea, and you say, I don't have time to do it. And that's happened with my coaching clients too. Sometimes my leaders that I work come ready and prepared and willing and open, and sometimes they come with more like a less optimistic perspective on developing and showing the skills. And I always be patient, and I think, okay, there is a timing. People realize that at different times. But my hope is whatever time it takes, that people get that if leaders are more coach-like, if they develop a coaching mindset and are more engaging, collaborative, supportive, then they create more well-being. And when there is more well-being, people want to come to work. We spend a lot of time at work. Most of our day is at work. So how we can create working cultures that enhance people's well-being, and as a result of that, there is more effectiveness and production and results. So we want results, but we can do that in an environment that support people and respect them and value them and give them opportunities to learn and grow.
And when we do that, maybe we'll have more than a 21% engagement rating. Yeah. So I can't thank you enough for joining me here today because your book is so important. I'll be sharing it with many clients. I hope those of you who are listening and watching this podcast will get a copy. Comes out September 2nd. You'll be able to find Lead with a Coaching Mindset on Amazon. Is it available for pre-order now?
Yes, it is. And if you are interested, please pre-order it because, as you know, when you pre-order the books, Amazon help with the algorithm, so make the book more visible to others. So if you're listening and you can pre-order it, I would really appreciate that to help us with that.
Well, Damian, I wish both you and the book great success. I can't wait to see all of the accolades that you get, and I know you will. And I want to thank you to our listeners and viewers. Be sure to like and subscribe to my podcast on YouTube. Look for me on LinkedIn. And if you wish to contact me or our executive coaching team for any kind of development needs, please email me at Andrea@morningstarventures.com. And to all of you leaders out there, never stop learning. Thank you for being with us.